just very comfortable with Clooney. He's such a nice man. He really, the guy, anything you say to him, you get a text the next day with ways to fix something that you said. My foot hurts when I walk, and then you got 10 doctors who can fix your foot. He is just quite a guy.
George Clooney stars as Jay, a movie star who finds himself firmly established with status and fame, but no real meaningful relationships in his life, except for that of his manager, played by Adam Sandler, and his publicist, played by Laura Dern. One day, Jay decides on a whim to follow his daughter on holiday to Italy, taking his entourage with him, with very mixed results. Jay Kelly takes us on a deeply personal journey about identity, aging, and the elusive search for real connection and meaning. So now, please welcome to the stage writer, director, and producer Noah Baumbach. And starring as Ron, Adam Sandler. And producer David Heyman. And casting director Nina Gold. So Noah, you always bring us these really beautifully nuanced stories about interpersonal relationships. When did this story of a movie star that finds himself kind of isolated, disconnected, first come to you?
A few years ago, I had this sort of notion, and I didn't really know what to do with it then, so I kind of let it just sort of sit while I made a couple other movies, and I started to collect ideas for it, but I still kind of felt like I didn't quite know where it all sat, and so I was talking to Emily Mortimer, who's a friend uh, and someone I've always admired, but and I was telling her the story, and then suddenly, as I was telling her the story, and she was asking me questions, we were talking. I felt like, actually, I think maybe I do know what this is now, and but there was something about the way she was responding to it that was giving me inspiration. So I called her the next day and said, "Do you want to write this together?" And if it's a bust, we can quit after a couple weeks, but I don't know, this I really was just instinctual, and then it was an amazing collaboration.
How did you and Emily really kind of set on the specifics of the character of Jay, who obviously is played by George? What were the kind of dynamics that you wanted to get in there, and how did you build this man? Because he's a very sort of, the whole point is he's sort of stuck in this surface existence, but we have to kind of know that underneath he really wants for so much more.
Yeah, well, I think there was something. Yeah, there was something in that, in an actor and somebody who plays roles for a living and is always sort of not themselves, and then also a movie star on top of that, who is essentially also has to sort of represent an iconography, and then thinking, well, and that's also what we all, when we go to the movies, I mean, why movie stars are so impactful for us in movies is that they're so watchable. We want to see them represent us. So then there was this sort of notion of, well, what if a movie star kind of represented us in all our failings and humanity? What's that exactly? And so I think, yeah, I mean, you have this man who's very defended and protected, and has, I mean, sort of this notion too of, I think, when you become famous, that you sort of lose your name in some way, like your name becomes something different than what it was when you were just started. And again, that was sort of a way to sort of talk about identity, and that's really partly why the movie's called Jay Kelly, is that this person that has this whole sort of almost industry that is revolves around. I mean, Adam, his manager, is, these people who devote themselves, but all these people have their own lives and their own identities and responsibilities, and so as this man is kind of going on this journey, and it's a journey both out into the world and as he goes, he becomes less defended. I mean, literally, as people start to sort of peel away from his group, and he's and less protected. But he's also going on a journey inside himself, and he goes into these memories, and he's sort of in some ways re-meeting the person that he was. And I think that's something we all do as we go through our lives, is wrestle with this gap between who we present as and who we might actually be. And is there someone else in here that I could, that I could introduce to the world in some way that I haven't met, and I think, different things in our different moments in our life provoke, sometimes in more dramatic ways we're faced with this, and sometimes in just very ordinary ways. I think in the beginning of the movie, Jay there's a certain kind of crises that sort of sent him on this journey. But so I think it was, I was interested in the whole milieu, of course, of an actor and that world, but also I was really interested in sort of telling sort of our story.
Adam, you really seem to be relating to what Noah was saying then. Can you talk about why the whole concept of this project really appealed to you? I love the character of Ron. He's like the soft heart of the film. And it's so interesting to see up close the dynamic between a manager and a star. There's certain codependence there. There's a transactional factor, but for Ron, it's not really transactional entirely. So can you talk about how you warmed to the character and working with Noah on that character?
Sure, thank you. And Noah wrote every word that you say as an actor. I did the Meyerowitz stories with Noah. I finished that script and called him up and said, "No, I can't ever thank you enough for letting me be in your movie and getting to say what you wrote." Then a few years later, we've been very close, and a few years later, Noah said he's writing. Kind of gave me an idea of what the movie would be about, Jay Kelly, and then mentioned me playing his agent or manager or whatever we were talking about at the time. And I just was like, well, I can't wait to see this. And then I read it, and then I just was so excited to be this guy and get to say these words that Noah gives you. And I just loved having the love for Jay Kelly and believing in somebody so much and caring about somebody so much, and not it was just nice to be selfless and only think of someone else, and which in real life that's not much. I'm no I but I did enjoy, like, my people who have worked with me over the years. I have people who work with me for a long time, and they do get that up with you when you have a moment, and they do get that pain with you when things are not going right, and you feel the same moody ups and downs with these guys, and the women in my life. And anyways, it was nice to just give myself to somebody like Jay.
Can you talk about creating that incredible chemistry with George? Because the two of you obviously have this kind of real symbiosis that you've developed over many years, and we have to feel that, and it really comes across. Can you talk about building the dynamic?
Yes, just very comfortable with Clooney. He's such a nice man. We knew each other over the years, but we got to really, all of us, we'd had rehearsal time. We had, while you're shooting, downtime. We had weekends together. It really got to be close. And he's such a nice person. He really, the guy, anything you say to him, you get a text the next day with ways to fix something that you said. You just, in passing, my foot hurts when I walk, and then you got 10 doctors who can fix your foot. He is just quite a guy, quite a giving human being, and includes you in everything. And he included my family with everything, and Noah and David and everybody knows he's just you can't talk about him too long, George. Any compliment you give him, he just shoos it away and brings it back to you. He's quite a nice man.
I love to hear that. Thank you. David, tell us about working with Noah and that experience, what it meant to you to connect with Noah's work in this way.
Very quickly, I just want to say one more thing about Adam, because he says, he is probably both as an actor, but also as a person, one of the most generous people I know. I mean, he says that about George. In many ways, he has Jay Kelly, he's a huge movie star, he's all that, but he is really one of the most generous people I've ever met, and actor. Noah, this is the third film I've worked with Noah on. It's a privilege. I think he is one of the great writers, one of the great directors working today, very much in the if you look at the tradition, there's Preston Sturges, you think about Mike Nichols, and Noah's in that pantheon. And so when Noah asks me to become involved in a project, I leap at the opportunity. He is a direct, his words, we all know they're really beautiful. And as a director, he is every single decision, every single frame is managed and curated. He's a wonderful collaborator. I feel like I learn and grow, and I think everybody who works with him feels the same. He's inclusive, but he really, and this story, as he said, it made me laugh, it made me cry, because it's about all of us. Yes, it's about a movie star, and it's about the world around him, but it's about all of us. It's about the human condition. It's about regret, and it's about acceptance, and it's about life. And I think it's when you work with Noah, you're going to be part of something that is extraordinary. And I feel that this really is a writer-director working at the peak of his powers. And so when I read it, or when Noah read it to me, he and Emily read every part. Emily was a great Jay Kelly. It was just an incredible experience, and I feel lucky to be a part of it.
I do feel like this film really would resonate with absolutely everyone who sees it, because again, as you say, David, it's about the human experience. You certainly don't have to work in the industry by any means to understand the dynamics and the experience that we're talking about. Nina, you are one of the most accomplished, prolific casting directors working today. I'm so happy you're here.
Thanks.
I would love to hear how you built this incredible ensemble cast. You've got, this triumvirate of Adam, George, Laura Dern. And how did you build this balanced cast around them?
Well, Noah and I sat in a small room for about 6 months, talking about actors, looking at their work, putting people's faces next to each other. And there are a lot of, the journey of Jay Kelly and Ron through the film goes through lots and lots of people, and they all had to really, even though some of them are really small moments, we really had to make them, each one, mean a lot in their small tiny detail in each one. And we tried to also make them change as you go through each part of the world. And it was a lot of detail and really fun, and also just trying to find the most incredible actors, which we really did, I believe.
You really did.
Well, I was going to say also, because as Jay goes out into the world, in his world, everyone revolves around him. But of course, that becomes increasingly harder for him to maintain. And so as we meet all these different characters throughout the movie, and all, as we introduce the people around him, it was so important that they suggest so much life outside of Jay that you feel, even if it's somebody he's meeting for a short period, there's a whole section on the train, that all of those actors just sparkle with their own individuality and their own life. And that, for a moment they're like, oh my God, I'm standing in front of this movie star, but then they're going to go on and they have their own, things that they need to, get the kids to bed, or, whatever, get to work on time, So I think it was something that Nina and I, and Nina has just such an amazing sort of sense of both material and fitting the right people to material, so that it was really, I mean, it's so many speaking parts in this movie too, so it was a kind of just going and international people too, so it was lots of actors that Nina introduced me to that I had not known before, and it was I learned a lot too, just sort of I mean, there's so many good actors that we couldn't even fit in. We kept trying to squeeze more people in because there's so many remarkable people.
That train sequence, I have to say, absolutely brilliant and full of quirky British tourists, and we know what they're like. So I urge you to watch this film. It is just moving, entertaining, funny, tragic. It's all the things. Please watch Jay Kelly. Congratulations, everyone. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much.
Great
Thank
job.
you.
Thank you very much.